Hi, welcome to True. In this video, we're going to discuss the Quotes Records Overview tab. To navigate to the Quotes module and Quotes Records, go to the main menu and select Jobs, and then we're going to select Quotes. Your active quotes will be listed here. So if you have a quote, you can select on it, or you can create a brand new quote. So for this example, we'll go ahead and create a brand new quote by clicking on the plus icon, and then we're going to get the Edit pop-up screen. You'll also get this edit pop-up screen when you navigate from a lead and upgrade and create a new quote. First thing we're going to want to do in here is select our client account. So I'm going ahead and searching for that client account. If that client account does appear in the system, then I'll be able to select it here. However, if it does not appear and it is not already a client account, I can select the plus icon and quickly create and add a new client account. If the client account has already been set up, it's going to pre-fill some of the information for me for this record already. So I see my primary contact name has been set. If I do need to change that, I can select the pencil edit icon and select a new one or clear this one out. Company is useful if you have multiple companies that have been set up in the company preferences. So for example, if you have different companies that are using True that have different letterheads or header information and logos, they'll be able to select which logo and header information shows up on any of the eForms that are generated. The ID is based off of what is set in the module ID settings and company preferences. By default, it's a 2 or 3 letter prefix followed by the year, and then it's a 1-up numbering system. However, in company preferences under module IDs, a manager can go in and adjust those settings to have the ID show in the manner that you wish. The phone number and the email address will pre-fill based on what's listed in the client account. These do not relate to the primary contact, but to the client account. If your potential lead and customer give you a PO number, you can enter that PO number in here. And then the job site address may fill in based on what's in the client account. However, if I need to add a new address or it's a different job site for a completely different area, then I can select an address that's already been entered into the system, edit the existing address here, or I can create a brand new address. Selecting new will take me to the edit address window where I can fill in any information and then select done. Division allows me to choose which division to assign this quote to, and then facility allows me to assign it to a facility. Company, division, and facility are completely optional. However, the facility option does have a use. If you are setting a facility, it's useful as it allows users to use the advanced features in Time Review to calculate travel pay based on the cost center's assigned facility and the job site address. Stage is a completely customizable drop-down field, so I'm going to choose New here. If I do want to adjust the stages that are pre-existing in the system or add new stages to my quotes, going to the gear icon and selecting categories will allow me to adjust those stages. The payment terms will be listed here based on what's set in company preferences under the terms section. Additionally, if the payment terms are set in the client account, they may preset here for you as well. Type is a customizable drop-down list as well that's found in the categories model underneath the gear icon, and this just allows users to categorize this particular quote. Tax type will set based on the company preference default settings in the taxes module. However, I can come in and I can change this to whichever tax percentage or area that I need. The date will set to the date that the record's created, but if I want to go in and edit the date, I can select the different date by clicking on that field. Rejected is used in place of deleting the record, so if the quote is not accepted by your lead, or not accepted by your client, then you can mark it as rejected and then it's removed from the active quotes list. It's essentially archiving the quote but not deleting it permanently from the system. By default, this time clock box will be checked. This allows users to clock into the quote. If you don't want your users or your employees to be able to see this quote in the record list in time clock or in the True Time application, turning it off will remove it from the time clock application or the internal time clock. Once I'm done editing, I can select done, and I see some of that information pre-populate over here. If I ever need to go back and edit that window or any of the information in that window, going to Options, Edit will bring it back up. So the Quotes Overview tab is essentially the data hub for all of the information for the quote. So at the top I have the button bars that give me the status and give me a little bit of information and allow me to navigate to some other options that we'll see here in a moment. I can enter in a description, scope, or instructions. The information listed in the description scope section will also be available in the description column on the active quotes list. If I'm on a desktop computer and my browser allows, I'll be able to open my computer's native email system. If I'm on a mobile device, it'll open up the device's native email system as well. If I click on the name, it'll take me to that contact record. And if I hover on the ID up here, it'll take me to the client record. When I select unassigned, I can choose an individual user to be assigned to this record, or I can click on the batch actions button up here and choose more than one user. Once I've selected all my users, I can click the check mark, and then now they've been assigned. The button additionally turns green, and the users will receive an alert that they've been assigned to a quote. The Unscheduled button allows me to view any schedules if they've been created and create a new schedule. So since I have none scheduled, I'm going to go ahead and create one. This is useful if you need to schedule someone out to do some measurements for the quotes or go have a meeting with that particular potential client. I can add a title, enter in a time, choose my date, enter in a description, and the contact, job, and location will pre-fill for me. Additionally, I can choose the type the schedule is for. Once I'm done, I can either view in the calendar and assign resources, or I can select the Done button and then navigate back from the scheduling module to the quote record. I now see that the schedule record is located here. If the record is in the future, this button will appear green. And if the schedule is in the past, it will appear brown. If I want to view or create additional schedules, I can view any schedules by selecting the button again, and then create any new ones by selecting New. If I wish to notify the client via text or email, I can select on Notify Client and then send a text message or an email. And then I'll receive a confirmation that the notification has been sent. Down in the activity log, I'll see who sent the message, the date and time it was sent, whether or not it was an email or text message, and what the actual message was. If I go up to Options Edit, the telephone number and the email address that are used to send those messages are the ones that are listed here. Additionally, they're the ones listed on the upper left-hand corner. The Unapproved button, it can be used multiple ways. This can be used if records are to be approved prior to the items and the quote being sent out, or after the client has approved this quote to move forward and mark it as a job. Once the quote eForm has been generated and it has been sent to the client, clicking on the Not Sent button will change it to a green Sent button, and then you'll also see a follow-up button display. If the follow-up date is the current date or a past date, then the button will appear red. If it's a future date, it'll appear blue. Any users assigned will also receive a follow-up alert that that quote is due for follow-up. And then finally, the last button in our button bar up here is the Jobs button. Selecting this button will navigate us into the Jobs module and carry all of the information from the quote to a job record, essentially upgrading it from the quote to a job. Any data that's entered onto this Items tab here, where you're going to be entering in your line items, your products, and your services, the total sell price will display down here. This is also where your eForms are going to pull from to create your quotes. So we have three defaults in the system: an all-in-one, quote items, quote no items. Those can be adjusted within the eForms module, so you can set your display settings and any boilerplate template information, such as your terms and conditions. Those can all be set under the gear icon in eForms. To generate an eForm, select on the option, choose your option, and choose Generate. Users will be taken to the eForms edit window where they can further edit the display options and any information on any of the steps, digitally sign, add images, etc. Once any changes have been made, make sure to select the Generate button again, and then that will update the eForm that you see on the right-hand side of the screen. Any eForms that are generated will be displayed under the Files, Emails, and Notes section, or you can view them by selecting the View button up here in the upper right-hand corner of the eForms, or View when you select the quotes items. Clicking on the option will take you back to the eForm. Under the Attributes section, any attributes that have already been set up for this module will be available. If the attribute has a drop-down list, I can click in the field and choose from the option. If no drop-down has been added, I can type into the field. If the attributes appear automatically, or you would like the attributes to appear automatically, those can be set in the company preferences under the quotes section. Attributes can all be set up underneath the gear icon, Attributes module. If attributes do not automatically show here, clicking on the plus icon will allow me to choose any additional attributes that I want to add to this module record. Clicking on the plus icon under Files, Emails, and Notes will allow me to upload a new image or document by selecting New File. I can drag and drop an image in here, upload it. I can choose from existing images in the system, further view any information and versions, and then see the files or images listed under here. The new email option will allow me to copy the unique code for this record. Every record in the system has its own unique email code. This can be used in conjunction with the email capture feature if you have it set up with your true solution. You'll be adding this code somewhere into the email, and then you'll send the email, CC it, or BCC the email to your designated email address that you've preset for the email capture integration. The system every couple of hours will pull all emails out of that inbox and then relate them to the correct record based on that unique code that you've told it to. New Note will allow users to create a note for meeting minutes, and any new notes will show down here. Users can additionally set up checklists in the checklist module underneath the gear icon to be applied to this quote. A new review can be added to this quote, and a new event can be created in the Events module. The difference between an event and a schedule is the event is typically used internally for true users, whereas schedules can be created and assign resources such as personnel and vehicles. The activity log will display anything that's automatically happened in the system, so such as the quote being approved, the notification being sent. However, I can come in here and I can type in any information. Once I select the enter key or enter in the information, I'll see it appear in the activity log with the date and time stamp, who initiated or typed in that information, and what they've typed in. In the upper right hand corner, if I want to change the stage, I can come up here and I can change the stage. And this is again a completely customizable drop-down list. Underneath the options button, I can favorite this, which will allow me to view the record under my favorites list and is essentially bookmarking the record. Transfer to bid is not a commonly used feature, however it is available if this quote is mistakenly made in the jobs workflow and it should have been made in the contracts workflow. Transfer to bid will take all of the information in the quote and transfer it to a bid in that workflow. Once it's been transferred to a bid, the bid can no longer be downgraded to a quote. Omit will allow the user to omit it from the list that they are working on. So if I choose to omit this from the list and I navigate using these caret buttons in the upper left-hand corner, it won't be on that list that I'm working on. It does not delete or remove the quote from the module, it just simply removes it from the working list for that moment. When a user navigates away from the quotes module and navigates back, then the record will show up again. Duplicate will duplicate the quote record, and then we'll also list duplicate right here in the description, scope, and instructions. And finally, there is a delete button. If you select delete, this is irreversible and the quote record will not be able to be retrieved. It is always recommended to go under the edit button and mark a record as rejected if you no longer want it to appear on an active quotes list. And last but not least, for the overview tab, if you select on the jobs button, you can upgrade the quote to a job. Selecting OK will move all the information from the overview and items tab into the jobs record. Additionally, once you've upgraded the quote to a job, you'll see a few more tabs that are located in here. For information on the items tab, please see our video on adding line items to the quote. And if you have any other questions regarding the quote overview tab, selecting the question mark in the upper right hand corner, you may choose ticket to submit a question via ticket, or you can choose help to view our help guide in the help center.